Hey, this is Rod Santomassimo with the Massimo Show. And wow, be prepared to be blown away today with our guest, the one and only Elizabeth McCormick. Yep, veteran of the U.S. Army, Black Hawk helicopter pilot, and Congressional Veteran Commendation recipient. Hi, this is Rod Santomassimo, and welcome to the Massimo Show. The objective of the Massimo Show is to share how you can maximize your personal, professional margin. That's right. Let's make more money in less time. Let's turn chaos into clarity, confusion into confidence, and income into real wealth. Along with sharing my insight on how I grew a multi-million-dollar professional business, we're going to bring you the expert advice from a variety of authors, consultants, and thought leaders who will provide the tools you need to maximize your own personal and professional margin. Welcome to the Massimo Show. Elizabeth, welcome to the Massimo Show.
Glad to be here.
Wow, we're so excited to have you. I want to get right into it. We always start with the beginning. So here we go. Teenage Elizabeth, where were you? Where are you living? What were you doing? What do you like to do?
Oh, teenager, rural Michigan, agricultural school, less than 50 students, graduating class of 52, including the adult education. Geek, shy, just starting to play sports and trying to find out who I was.
For those of you on the podcast, you'll find out that's all can't be true today. And for those of you on the Massimo Show YouTube channel, you're going, wait, that girl was a geek and shy and everything. Yeah, she resonates energy. So it's hard to believe that. Okay, geek and shy. What was a passion of yours, if you can recall, in those teenage years?
Again, the geek and the shy. I would go to school, do sports because I lived out in the country and my mom worked 2 jobs. I would sometimes have to walk 7 miles home after practice. Yes, they let you walk home by yourself. And I would walk home and I would do my homework and I would read until about 2 a.m. So I was a night owl and I would read and then I wouldn't want to wake up in the morning.
Oh, you said practice. So something's going on. What were you practicing?
I started playing sports in high school, mainly because our school is so small. We didn't have 5 players to play basketball at the same time. So they were like desperate. So I said, I've never played before. They're like, we don't care. Come anyway. So I played basketball. I played volleyball. I did softball and I did track. It was a small school. You played everything.
Well, that's great. That's great. You're doing sports, walking 7 miles back to the house, reading consistently, voracious reader. You go off to school. Where'd you go to school? What'd you study? Tell us about that phase.
Yeah, so I got offered a volleyball scholarship for a little Division III school in Michigan called Siena Heights University, and I played volleyball for them, double majored in art and mathematics with an associate's degree in engineering, kind of a weird combination, but I was planning on going into architecture. So it made sense at the time, but my school, because I had a volleyball scholarship, it wasn't an architecture school, so it was as close as I could get. So I did that. I had to stop playing volleyball, though. It interfered with my studies too much after a couple years in. Gave up the scholarship, focused on my studies. And in my last year of college, I met what I call the starter husband.
Ah, the starter husband.
Yeah. I met him and married him my last year of college, and he was going into the military. So I followed him as a military wife to Fort Polk, Louisiana, which everyone in my speech, I talk about this, everyone who lives there calls it Fort Puke.
Okay, you're living in Fort Puke with your starter husband.
Yep.
Obviously, small town, small base, right? I understand. This means small enough not to have a Walmart, correct?
Correct. When I was there, just as I was leaving there, they actually were building a Walmart. So
now it's a metropolis. Okay,
it's much bigger now. They've expanded the base. They got a major assignment. Things are way different now than they were then.
What are you doing with your degree? And somehow you got to the point where you said, you know what? I'm going to fly helicopters. Wow, what a big jump. How does that happen?
I was pissed off. I had a major case of mad. I had all this college and the best job I could get was working in a pizza place. And nothing against pizza, nothing against food service, nothing against retail, but 5 years of college, student loans knocking at the door. I was mad. And I realized that I couldn't change much of the circumstances I was in. I had to look at what the things I could change and what was changeable. So looking at that and looking at my life that way, I realized that my starter husband wasn't the brightest crayon in the box. So I figured if he could be in the military, I could be in the military.
Oh, Elizabeth, that's one thing to say, I'm going to go into the military, and to end up where you did as a Black Hawk helicopter pilot. So there's got to be some trials, tribulations, experiences that whatever our audience is, whether they're selling insurance, selling real estate, they're starting a new business, they have challenges making big decisions. Tell us about that journey. How did it go from A to B?
I talk about how it starts with your belief. If you don't believe in you, nobody else is going to believe in you. And in
Amen.
my case, nobody else believed in me anyway. So I had to persevere through. I will tell you, I didn't know it was hard. And sometimes we look at hindsight and we look at what happens afterwards and we don't realize everything we were going to go through and what the process was and what it was all going to be until we're on that other side. And that was to my benefit. I didn't know it was hard. I had to deal with the recruiter who didn't know how to do the paperwork. I had to deal with the flight doctor who said, little girl, don't you know this is hard? When I went to the military entrance processing station, the MEP station, because we love our acronyms, the MEP station, they were like, young lady, this test is so hard. I'm like, I took calculus 5. Let me just take this test. But everywhere I went, it was obstacle. It was you can't. And everyone was pushing their belief system into me. And at that point, I think I got a little case of stubbornitis. Anyone ever get that? And I just said, this is what I'm supposed to do. Stop telling me I can't and show me how I can. And I really was like the squeaky wheel. I was the one calling the recruiting station. I sat in his office and did all the paperwork for him on a typewriter back then. I did anything I could to make it happen. And it wasn't until I got through the process, got my spot, got into basic training, went from basic training to candidate school, I found out there were only 2 spots in the nation.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
Two spots in the United States of America. And I got to tell you, if I had known that going into all those situations, I would not have been so confident. And you got to remember, I was a shy girl. I was not confident. My mission to do this and my mission to be who I wanted to be was more important than being shy.
So you were mad.
I was mad. It's okay. I was mad that everybody was standing in my way. And every time I got mad, I got madder. And then it became this determination force within me that I didn't know I even had. That wasn't like who I played sports, and you persevere in sports. And I played basketball with my toenail broke off in my shoe. But when you're in situations, you really sometimes don't realize how much you have within you until you're in those situations.
And certainly, look, you were driven. You're a driven person. And even for shy, you're driven just a little bit, just tiny little drive. But I recall one of the videos I listened to before our getting together, there were 4 magic words, I think, that would sum this up to really the why element. And maybe I don't want to put you on the mark here. Do you know those 4 words you shared in one of your audiences, the 4 magic words, the 4-question phrase? So what are those 4 questions, and is that behind this drive? So let me ask you that. What are those 4 magic words?
Oh, the 4 words. Do you want this?
Do you want this?
Do you want this? Like everyone listening, if you're an entrepreneur or a business, or if you want something and everybody else is telling you what is possible, you just got to stand firm and know that if you want this, you can find a way to make it happen. But when you don't believe it's going to happen, no one else is going to.
Powerful, powerful words. Now, tell me how that evolved, that do you want this? Did someone challenge you during this journey? Did you just say, these are the 4? Where did that come from?
It came from when I get that spot in flight school. I finish warrant officer candidate school. I'm in flight school. I'm trying to learn how to fly a helicopter. And my flight instructor didn't believe women should fly and was trying to fail me by not teaching me the right things to do in the right sequence of how to do them. And so he was trying to fail me, and I refused to quit. I just showed up. And I will tell you, that was the hardest point in my life, is showing up knowing somebody else wanted me to fail. And I had no control. Zero control, other than how I showed up in every single one of those moments. And I did the best I can in the moment I was in. And it was really tough. They wanted me to quit. I was the only female, not just in my class, but in the 6 classes in front of me and the 4 classes after me. I was the only one in that whole time period. And they would have loved for me to have failed, just on that basis of letting women in. And so I couldn't fail, not just for me, but I couldn't fail for other women and for the system and for the culture and talk about pressure. When they say failure was not an option, it was not an option. No, they were trying to fail me. And at the very last moment, at the very last week before a final exam, my instructor took a week vacation and a substitute instructor came in. And those were the substitute instructor's words to me, because all he saw was the paperwork. And the paperwork was 6 full weeks, 30 some days of grade sheets of failing maneuvers. And that was what I was being defined by.
You were in a position to fail out of flight school.
It was very close. It was very close. If he hadn't come in at that last day, I truly believe it was divine intervention, because if my original instructor hadn't taken a week vacation, if the substitute instructor who was younger and active duty, not a contractor, an old school, if he hadn't come in and been willing to really work with me and teach me, I probably would have washed out at that point.
Look, there's individual drive, there's individual passion and motivation, but in your career, do you also find that element, and maybe this isn't a good example with a substitute, but is there an element of a mentor, supporter that can be a catalyst to this going forward?
I have to say, for me, no.
Okay, that's great.
I had to mentor me. Now in business, yes. And now I mentor others and pay it forward. But back then, there wasn't anybody. And I remember when I first started speaking, I approached a speaker doing a few years ahead of me, doing what I wanted to do with a military background. And I approached her and she was like, good luck. Yeah. I suffered, now you suffer kind of thing, and attitude with it. And I just said, you know what? It doesn't have to be like that. So whether it was in the service or now as a business owner and as a motivational speaker and doing everything I do, not just women, but men need to look out for women, need to look out for men. There's no reason we can't help it. There is plenty of business.
Yeah, there are certainly those that live in a life of abundance like you and I do, obviously. And, we don't mind sharing because there's a lot of reasons, there's reasons not to share. But there are those, of course, that live in a life of scarcity, and that's the way it is. It's a competitive environment. But the story and the guiding light that you're sharing, though, is so important. First of all, how bad, everyone out there listening, that you're trying to achieve something, whether it be personal, professional, how bad do you want it? And are you willing to put all in to make it happen? So this is pretty awesome. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the career side a little bit, and then we're going to talk about your business and Soar, the word Soar, and what it means. And I'm going to share with you what it means to me, and we're going to hopefully have a little laugh. So hold on, folks. We'll be right back with Elizabeth McCormick. Hey, this is Rod Santomassimo with the Massimo Show, and oh boy, am I pumped. My new book, Knowing Isn't Doing, when it launched, it hit #1. That's right. Top-selling sales book in the entire country on Amazon.com. We're so excited to share many of our proprietary Massimo methods to allow our readers to start finally building that business and the life they've always desired. To get your own copy or learn more, visit www.knowingisn'tdoing.com. Hey, this is Rod Santomassimo, and we're back with Elizabeth McCormick, U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter pilot. By the way, Elizabeth, don't be mad at me, but I have 2 nephews that are officers that are both helicopter pilots. They're in the Navy, but I am proud of both Gregory and Tyler for doing what they do. So let's continue. You're now a helicopter pilot. You truly earned that distinction, right? Share with the audience, if you can, if you wish to, just a quick story. Doesn't be in battle or military, just anything that would share a lesson in relation to your piloting experience.
So when I was in Germany, so first I was at Fort Drum, upstate New York, and then I got reassigned to Germany. And while I was at Germany, as a pilot, you have to always prove yourself. Every year you have to check ride, you have to prove you're proficient and that you're skilled in what you do. And so it was a check ride. And for me, after 2 years or so in flying, you try to get pilot in command status. It's like your next promotion status is pilot in command. So I was up for pilot in command at my second assignment in Germany. And what you have to do is fly nap of the earth. And nap of the earth is where you're down at like treetop level. And sometimes you're below the treetops if you have enough room. And you're literally moving your tail around the body and going around the trees and using a single tree. At the same time, you're navigating on a terrain map. So you have to be able to read the terrain features and the elevations and everything, which a totally new skill for me. I had to learn. So I'm doing the navigation part and the other person is flying and I'm telling them where to go. And because as part of my pilot in command, I have to act as I'm commanding the aircraft. So I'm telling him where to go and he's the instructor pilot. So he's evaluating me while we're doing this. And so we do that and we're good. And then we have to switch. So now I have to prove I can fly and he does the navigating. Well, he's the instructor pilot. And the next thing I know, we're flying along. And the next thing I know, we're lost. And I'm like, you're the instructor pilot. I'm like, and then I'm thinking, oh, is he testing me? so I know what to do. So I'm like, okay, so if we're lost, we need to go back and fly backwards to our last known point where we can find ourselves on the map, and then we'll proceed from there. We do that. And the whole time I'm going, he was lost. He really didn't. I'm like, you're supposed to know where you're going. You're the instructor. So that was a really big revelation for me, because I realized that you're in the pilot seat and it doesn't matter who's on the other side. You've really got to make sure you know your stuff. So it was that level I already knew I was up for pilot in command. I really pushed myself even harder to be more proficient and more skilled and everything, because I didn't realize quite at that level how much, I hate to say it this way, but sometimes you can't depend on other people.
No, I understand. No. But Elizabeth, your proof yourself, what you accomplished. Look, your success is based on your efforts. And if you rely on others for your success to a certain too much, you just won't get what you want. You just won't.
Yeah, I talk about how you are in the pilot seat. So whether you're in the pilot seat of your life, there's no autopilot there. You're in the pilot seat of your business. If you're an entrepreneur, business owner, if you work in a corporate job, you're in the pilot seat of your job. And no matter which role you are in, or even in your personal life, in your family, there is not an autopilot. So we have to be more willing to lead instead of follow. And even if we're just leading ourselves.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the word pilot, because I know you have an acronym with pilot, with these 5 factors, right? These 5 elements, these truths of leading yourself in life, you call that, right? So what are these 5 truths of leading yourself in life in the pilot acronym? Can you break that down for our audience?
Sure, real quick. P is for potential, because then it goes back to what we already talked about. If you don't believe in your potential, no one else will follow you. So it starts with your potential and defining and building your own potential. I call it being in a potential zone, not a comfort zone. I is implementation, because if you believe in yourself and your abilities, that's great, but if you don't do something with it. So you've got to implement and be effective and take action on what you believe. And so I is implementation. L is leadership, and I have a simple framework for leadership. So if we all communicate, aviate, take action, and navigate, be clear on where we're going, all our leadership gets better. O is optimal performance, because no one wants to fly with an average pilot, not at any time. So how do we maintain and sustain an optimal higher performance for a longer duration? So we talk about that and relating it to pilots and what pilots had to do. And T is tenacity. It is not giving up when things get hard. It is not giving up when people say, I don't believe in you. And how do you persevere and stay through that? As long as you maintain, going back to the P, as long as you maintain your belief, you can.
I love the pilot acronym, but you threw one in there as far as leadership. It was a CAN and I missed it. Can you just refresh that?
Communicate. That's pretty simple, right? Aviate. And aviate means taking action. And navigate, being clear where you're going. Because if you're not navigating, where you're going to end up on somebody else's flight plan.
I love it. I love it. So now you're building a business. Tell us about your business. What was the catalyst for starting your business? And we'll talk a little about that as well.
Yeah. So I was working a corporate job. I would have still been in the military right now. I might be retired right now, but I was injured while I was in Germany and our unit was in Kosovo. So I was injured. I was offered a medical retirement. So I took that, and I got out of the military right before September 11th, got a corporate job, was working as a warehouse inventory accounting, and worked my way up to purchasing manager. And then my last job, corporate job over an 8-year period, I was a commodity manager and international contract negotiator. Those were my corporate roles in logistics and supply chain management. I was broken. I came home out of the military physically injured and emotionally broken during that time. People were like, why didn't you start speaking right away? First of all, I didn't know it was a job or a career. I had no idea. I knew about Zig Ziglar and some of the big ones, but I had no idea. And second of all, being a speaker cannot be therapy. You have to know who you are. You have to be comfortable in your own skin. And you have to really not be working out your issues on stage. That doesn't help your audience. So for me, there's no way I was emotionally ready to speak. I was truly on autopilot. And I believe there are times when you need to be on autopilot just to survive and to function. And that was a time period for me when I was truly, I'd wake up, do the next thing, punch the clock, go to work, eat because I needed to eat, and then turn around and come home because I had a daughter I was a single parent of at the time. So I just did the next thing. And then I started to realize there was other things going on in the world. And I started developing my own skills and my own awareness of and consciousness of what was going on around me and developing that. And then what happened is around that same time is my community found out I was a helicopter pilot and they started calling me, hey, will you come speak at our school, our youth, our church, our career day, or this or this. And every time I spoke at one place, I'd get 5 more phone calls. And I'm still working a corporate job. So I'm turning a lot of them down. And I'm on the phone one day and I'm turning it down because I'm working. And they're like, we'll pay you. And I am like, shut the door. I've been doing this for free for a year, a little here and there. I'm like, how much will you pay me? And they, I don't know, it was $500 or something.
Right.
Wait, that's more than I make an hour in a corporate job. I'm like, so I took a vacation day and did that one and started. I was like, okay. And so my keeper husband I'm now on, he goes, you're really good at this. I think you should do this. And I was like, oh no, I'm getting paid great. I've got benefits and stability and I'm an international contract negotiator. I'm flying all over the world, negotiating multi-million-dollar contracts. They rely on me. No, I'll just do it a little bit here and there. 3 months later, it's January 2009. I walk into a division level meeting, 250 people. Our CEO from our Sweden headquarters is standing up on a stage. He puts up a PowerPoint. Slide 1, state of the economy.
Yep.
Slide 2, you're all laid off.
Yep.
Laid off 250 people with a 2-page PowerPoint. Everybody's screaming, crying, and I'm sitting there going, I think I know what I'm supposed to do.
It's amazing our lives are where we are. It was in 2008. I'll see all for those young, Google it if you don't know what the Great Recession was. But yeah, I was in a corporate job in California, living in Carolina with my wife and kids. And they called me and said, look, we love you. We're going to have to let you go. And I actually said to Elizabeth, thank you. I'm tired of being in a corporate position, number one. And number two, I'm tired of coming to California, forget traveling the world. But it was the greatest day of my life. I mean, I can honestly say that day that I got let go, in retrospect, you didn't know it then, and you probably didn't know it then either, but it was the greatest day professionally in my career. It was.
Yeah. For me, they came to me and they were, because I'd been negotiating us into multi-million-dollar contracts. They came to me and said, can you stay 6 months? You get the severance you'd get if you left today, but we'll pay you your salary for the 6 months, but we don't want you to travel because we don't want to pay for it. So you got to use this new website called Skype. And which was new then. We'll give you the severance you'd get today and a giant bonus if you help us close out the plant. So now I knew my end date. So even better, I was able to accept speaking engagements after that end date. And if somebody asked me for something before, I just pushed it out to then. It was an amazing gift. And it happened completely organically.
It happened organically, but look, it's still a business. And so our entrepreneurs on the line right now, they're thinking, okay, but she's still got to sell herself or sell her business. In your case, it's speaking. She's got to market, right? She's got to operate it. There's no doubt. And she have a team. So let's start with the latter part. So is it you yourself today in your business, or do you have some help?
Oh, no, I have about 13 different people. No one full time at this point. I've tried that a couple times. And then when they leave, you go, oh, I can't. I got to start all over. I have learned that everyone is contract and part-time, and that way, and segmented roles. So that way, if one person leaves, it's not just decimating my organization.
Okay, stop. You have this subconscious competence because this is every day to you, and this is what your life is. I work my organization the same exact way, right? Independent contractors, part-time, I do have a couple of full-time folks, but that's essential for people to recognize the flexibility, adaptability, scalability that exists today in your business. Elizabeth's proving it right now. 13 folks work with her. Give us some scope of responsibilities, not names, please, but responsibilities that these folks do for you.
So I have one person that, whether I'm here or not, comes to the home office and does the shredding, the filing, the thank you gifts, the physical mailings, the paperwork. I'll send her, if I'm on the road and something comes up and I need to send somebody something, I send her the address. She has the envelope already addressed sitting on my desk for me to just sign the card when I get back in the office. So that's 3 days a week, maybe. Some during peak times, maybe a little bit more. And she's a retiree, who just didn't want to stay home. So it works great for her and great for me. For a speaker, so depending on what, obviously, your company and your role might be as you're listening to this, for me, for a speaker, the visual properties are very important. So I have one person that just helps manage my social media with me. I have another person who, when I get pictures back from an event, I send them to her, and she edits out all the exit signs that are a subliminal message when they're posted saying exit. No, I don't want to exit. So we take out all the exit signs, we edit and crop all the photos and make sure they're all usable and ready to use right away. So I don't have to sort through them. They're already done. I have another person who does promo videos for me. So I shoot a promo video with a green screen, and we add in the company's logo and the lower third and then all their information on registration and the things that are going to help support that organization. And I have one person who does that. I have another person who does other videos and more production quality videos and commercials.
Okay, so let me ask, how do you communicate with all these folks? Is it Slack? Is it email? How do you do it?
Most of my contractors I use through Upwork, and they have their own messaging system.
Yep.
So I use that messaging system because it keeps everything in one place. I don't like the attachments and file system with Upwork. I have share folders for each one of them over in Dropbox, and then so documents and any collateral materials go in and out through Dropbox. Email, shoot me now. I get so many emails. And on top of that, I get LinkedIn messaging. I have Facebook messaging.
Oh, yeah.
My Twitter messaging with, I don't know what I'm up to. 55,000 followers is out of control. And I love it, but it's so much to manage and keep track of. So I have one person now that checks everything and only sends me the things that I need to see, because it was taking so much time out of each day that I couldn't manage it all. Things were getting dropped, which is not a good thing.
No. But again, we're talking about scalability, creating an organization around you that's flexible, gives you the life you want to lead. And that's what we're talking about here, giving you the life and the margin that you want for your kids, your husband, your keeper. That's what you want.
We just got back from Aruba. So yeah, he likes that.
There you go. That explains the glowing tan.
Just a little tan. Yeah. So the recent hire I just added to my team is someone just to facilitate contracts, which I'm a contract negotiator. So I'm going to negotiate that. There's no way I'm giving that piece up. But once the person says yes. So we negotiate, I send them a proposal in writing. So they have it in writing so that they can then sell me better to their decision maker, which is a really key thing I've learned in the last year or so. Is to always, whenever you have a conversation, follow that up in something in writing. And what we've done now is made that really pretty. So we send that proposal, then they come back and they say, we want option A, B, or C. And so now I have them fill out a form. We've automated it. I have them fill out a form with all the fields that mail merge into our contract. And then I send the proposal. So we have the mail merge, and then I send the proposal to this is a new assistant. I'm always looking for how can I send it to somebody else and have somebody else where I'm not a bottleneck in the business.
This is awesome because, again, folks, it's an example. We talk about this on the Massimo Show a lot, Elizabeth. There's several we call P factors. And this P factor, we're talking about the operation side. So think about what Elizabeth share with you all. We're talking about people. She has that in place. We're talking about process. She has the processes in place. And the platforms, the people, process, and platforms, those three-legged stools of operations, she's figured it out through automation. That's a beautiful thing. And you all need to get there to grow your business. Hey, Elizabeth, I know you got a busy schedule. In fact, I know you're off to another speech across the country as soon as we hang up. So I can't let you go yet. I got two final questions for you. The first one is Soar, because your company, I believe, is Soar 2, the number 2, success. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, so why Soar? What does Soar mean?
So every business has to find a way to differentiate, whether it's you as a business or you have a company or a product or a service, no matter what it is. So what I did is created a simple framework with SOAR. So the S is for superior results, finding a higher quality, and how can you bring something at a higher level. O is oversized. Can you make it bigger? Can you do a bigger event? Can you do a bigger product? Can you do a bigger launch than what's already out there? A is accelerate. It's getting faster to market. And R is my favorite. It's rarity and clarity. So how can you bring something that is different than what anyone else is doing and bring it out in a way that's clearer than anyone else is doing?
I love it. Rarity and clarity. Elizabeth, you brought clarity today. You did for our audience. Again, and go back, audience, and listen to what she shared to how she built her business, what she uses to continue to grow her business. Really important. And no doubt you are a rarity in the person you are. So we greatly appreciate your time on the Massimo Show, and we honor you, and we honor with your service. So all the best to you. Elizabeth, any parting shots for our audience?
Hey, connect with me at Pilot Speaker just about everywhere.
Pilot Speaker. Go check out Pilot Speaker. And if you're someone who's running a larger organization or mid-sized organization, reach out. She may be available for you and to pump up and let your audience soar as well. Hey, until next time, this is Rod Santomassimo. with the Massimo Show. You know what I'm going to say? Trust the process, and knowing isn't. We'll talk to you soon. Take care. I want to thank you for listening to this version of the Massimo Show. And please, please go out and share this with your friends, your colleagues. Heck, share it with your dog. Just share it. And more importantly, just give me some feedback, good, bad, or indifferent. We all grow from understanding what our audience wants to hear. So until next time, this is Rod Santomassimo with the Massimo Show. Hey, this is Rod Santomassimo with the Massimo Group. And did you know over the last 12 plus years, we've worked with thousands of independent contractors, solopreneurs, and small business owners in helping them achieve the business and the life that they've always desired. To learn more how we could possibly help you achieve your goals, please visit www.massimo.coach. That's www.massimo.coach.